Hi everyone and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to show you my Bloodied stealth commando setup that I'm using right now in Fallout 76. Let's jump in. So first of all I'm going to show you my weapons and armour, and then we'll get into the perks that I use along with some of the gameplay of the build in action. If at any point you have some suggestions for changes that you think I should make, let me know down in the comments below. So the first weapon I'm going to show you is this Bloodied Prime 33% vats hit chance handmade with faster movement speed while aiming. This is the weapon I use probably about 75% of the time, as the vats hit chance makes it super effective at taking out enemies very easily. And as you can see, it does a very nice 270 damage right now. And then next up we have this Bloodied Prime faster fire rate vats critical meter feels 15% faster handmade. This is the handmade I use when I have a really tanky enemy, like the Imposter Sheep Squatch for instance, or enemies at certain events like Project Paradise. Next up we move on to the weapon I use most when I'm fighting at the Scorch Beast Queen, and that's this Zealot Prime Fixer with VATS critical shots do 50% more damage and the VATS critical meter feels 15% faster. Coupled with some certain perks in this build, this weapon is really effective at killing the Queen, and there will be some footage later on in the video of me taking on the Queen. So let's move on to my apparel and my armour pieces. So I wear the Blood Eagle jacket, which you can get as a reward for completing Beckett's questline, which is part of the Wastelanders DLC. I use the armour plated backpack, which gives me 90 extra damage resistance and 30 carry weight. I then wear the shielded leathers, which give me 3 perception, 3 agility and 1 luck, which are perfect for this build type. So my armour set is made up of 5 pieces of unyielding gear and 1 chameleon piece. I have the unyielding Free Radicals mask, an unyielding AP refresh metal chest piece, an unyielding AP refresh robot left arm, an unyielding AP refresh with food, drink and chem weight reduction left leg, an unyielding Sentinels AP refresh leather right leg, and a chameleon hard to detect with +1 intelligence scout right arm. So there are a couple of aid items that I use, and they are Ballistic Bok, which improves the ballistic weapon damage by 15%, but it also increases the condition cost by 15%. The recipe for Ballistic Bok can be obtained by completing the daily quests for Biv. And then the other chem that I mainly use is Psychotats, which means I deal another 25% more damage. I gain 15% extra damage resistance and 3 perception for 3 minutes. Now let's take a look at the mutations that I run. Most of these are pretty standard mutations, but there are some that are specific to this build. Adrenal Reaction because it increases weapon damage at low health. I use Bird Bones for extra 4 points in agility and the reduced fall damage. Carnivore because I can then eat raw meat without the chance of getting a disease, and you get double benefits from that meat. I use Eagle Eyes for the extra 4 perception and the extra 25% critical hit damage. So Grounded is one that's in there from when I used to do PvP, but it doesn't affect this character in either a positive or negative way, so I haven't bothered trying to get rid of it. Marsupial is pretty standard for most players in the game, and I'm sure you're all familiar with its effects of being able to jump higher. Scaly Skin is again in there because of when I used to do PvP, and it offers some good resistances. I've kept it in because of the fact that I wear unyielding gear. It makes up for the loss in action points with the boosted agility. And then the last mutation is Speed Demon. This is an awesome mutation that gives you increased reload speed and faster movement speed. So with all my gear and mutations, I end up with 8 strength, 37 perception, 3 endurance, 19 charisma, 15 intelligence, 37 agility and 32 luck. You can boost your special stats even higher than this by taking advantage of a little exploit, and if you want to know how to do that, I will leave a link to that video down in the description, and I will also pin that as a comment for you as well. So this character build runs 1 point in strength, 15 in perception, 3 in endurance, 4 in charisma, 3 in intelligence, 15 in agility and 15 in luck. As I only have 1 point in strength, I chose to go with the Bandolier perk at rank 1, which reduces the weight of ballistic ammo by 45%. In perception, I use 3 points in concentrated fire to allow me to target limbs for high accuracy and damage per shot. This build is focused on VATS use, and this is a must-have perk. Next up we have all 3 Commando perks at rank 3, which gives us a total damage increase of 60%. And then the last perk in Perception is Tank Killer at rank 3, which means my rifles ignore 36% of the target's armor and I have a 9% chance to stagger. In Endurance, I use Fireproof at max rank because it makes you immune to the Scorch Beast Scream. I could use Adamantium Skeleton or Life Giver, but I prefer Fireproof. Personal preference on that one, really. In Charisma, I use Lone Wanderer at rank 1, which costs 2 points in Charisma. This gives me an extra 10% AP regeneration and also means I take 10% less damage. As I said at the start of the video, I spend most of my time as a lone player, and Lone Wanderer is a must-have for single players. I then take 2 points in Tenderizer. Lots of players look at Tenderizer and see it as a waste and they don't really understand how it works. If you do want to know how Tenderizer works, I will leave a link to a Reddit thread down in the description for you which explains everything. In Intelligence, I just use Nerd Rage at rank 3, which means while I'm below 20% health, I gain 40 extra damage resistance, I deal 20% more damage, and I gain 15% action point regeneration. I do get a lot of people asking me during my live streams and things how I mod my weapons with only 3 points in Intelligence, and my answer is simply that all the mods that I ever need are locked behind Gunsmith level 3, with the exception of being able to prime my weapons. When I wish to prime a weapon, I simply spend some perk points, moving points from one attribute into Intelligence. I make the changes and then I move them back. Okay, so let's move on to Agility. I use 2 points in Action Boy, which give me 30% faster action point regeneration. I use 3 points in Sneak, which makes me 75% hard to detect while sneaking. And then next up we have Covert Operative at rank 3, which means that my ranged sneak attacks deal 2.5 times normal damage. Next up we have Escape Artist, which means that you can go into sneak by crouching to lose enemies and your running will no longer affect stealth. Then we have Adrenaline at rank 3, which means I gain 8% damage per kill up to a maximum of 48%, and that lasts for 30 seconds and that duration will refresh with each kill. And then last up in Agility we have Gun Fu at rank 3. This perk is awesome at dealing with mobs of enemies as it swaps targets on kill whilst you remain in vats, and it increases your damage with each consecutive kill by 10%, 20% and then 30%. I just want to add that if I'm playing during the night, I will take out Action Boy and put in Mr. Sandman to increase those sneak attacks even more. Mr. Sandman gives you an additional 50% sneak attack damage, meaning that you can get 3.75 times sneak attack damage if you equip Mr. Sandman first and then Covert Operative after. If you notice you're only getting 3.5 times sneak attack damage, the perks are equipped in the wrong order. So let's move on to Luck, and the first perk in Luck is Serendipity at rank 3, which means while I'm below 30% health, I gain a 45% chance to avoid damage. Next up I have 4-Leaf Clover, which means each hit in VATS has a chance to fill my critical meter. Next up we have Starch Genes at rank 2, which means I'll never mutate from Rads, and the Radaway will never cure my mutations. And then Bloody Mess rank 3 is next, which gives me 15% more damage. Critical Savvy is next at rank 3, which means that critical hits now only consume 55% of my critical meter. And then the last perk in this build is Better Criticals at max rank, which means that VATS critical shots now do an additional 40% more damage. So there is my completed build, guys, with all of the perks on display at once for you. So if you want to watch a video on how to double stack your unyielding armor, you can watch this video right here on the screen. And if you want to see more Fallout 76 videos, be sure to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.